Throughout the world, throngs of people hail the end of the war in Europe. It is 5 years and more since Hitler marched into Poland. Years full of suffering and death and sacrifice. Now the war against Germany is won.
I've been doing a lot of videos on World War II recently, because there are lessons we need to remember. And today, as I look around, those lessons feel more urgent than ever. We're witnessing a rise in authoritarianism, and we don't have to look further than Los Angeles. Trump has just nationalized the California National Guard, the first time a president has done so without a governor's request since 1965. Marines are reportedly on the way. The streets are uneasy. So am I. So I find myself asking a question that won't leave me. Did the Nazis lose the war only to win the peace? Or to put that another way, did the Nazis lose the battlefield, but seed an ideology that survived in the peace we thought we had won? And more haunting still, did America start losing its soul when we let Nazis in? I'm Scott Layton, your host, and today, on The Renaissance Spirit, we're going to look at why America moved to the right, how Nazi ideology has crept back into the 21st century, and what we can still do to stem the tide. What if the greatest minds of Nazi Germany weren't punished, but promoted? In the aftermath of World War II, America faced a choice. We could pursue justice or advantage, and we chose advantage. Comparisons to Nazism should never be made lightly, but ignoring the early warning signs of authoritarian drift is how the unthinkable becomes normalized. This isn't about shouting Nazi at everything we don't like. It's about understanding how certain ideas about power, purity, obedience outlive the regimes that gave them rise. Project Paperclip was a secret U.S. intelligence program that brought over more than 1,600 Nazi scientists, engineers, and technicians, many with blood on their hands. Among them, Wernher von Braun, the mastermind behind Hitler's V-2 rockets, weapons that killed thousands of civilians in London and Antwerp. He later became the architect of America's space program. The Third Reich fell, but some of its brightest minds were welcomed by the very powers that defeated it. We didn't just forgive these men, we honored them, gave them homes, salaries, access, power. We looked away from their past and opened the door to our own moral corrosion. What was the message? If you're useful enough, the past doesn't matter. That is the seed of American realpolitik, the belief that power is more important than principle. We called it a just war, but justice is not only won on battlefields. It must be defended in memory, in institutions, in truth. Many Americans never knew. We weren't told this in school. But ignorance isn't our fault. Silence is. The Cold War hardened America. We weren't just fighting communism. We were reshaping the world in our image, with no tolerance for dissent. We backed brutal dictators in the name of stability. Pinochet in Chile, the Shah in Iran, Suharto in Indonesia. We trained death squads. We toppled democracies. We're not condemning every decision of the Cold War. We're re-examining which seeds we allowed to take root. In our fear of tyranny abroad, we flirted with tyranny at home, and at home, we turned inward. The Red Scare birthed a culture of fear. The John Birch Society pushed conspiracy over citizenship. Goldwater's 1964 campaign laid the groundwork for a new Republican right, one that fused religion, nationalism, and deregulation into a new gospel. We framed the Cold War as a defensive posture against tyranny, but much of it was theater, and not the kind that saved lives. The Bay of Pigs was an unprovoked attempt to topple a sovereign government, an international embarrassment that pushed Cuba deeper into Soviet arms. The Cuban Missile Crisis, hailed as a diplomatic victory, was a crisis of our own making, triggered by nuclear brinksmanship and tit-for-tat paranoia. And Vietnam? a 20-year quagmire built on bad intelligence, imperial delusion, and the false binary that all resistance was communism. In trying to stop tyranny, we often became the tyrant. We didn't win hearts and minds. We burned villages, installed puppets, and trained death squads. For many caught in the proxy crossfire, the Cold War was anything but cold. The Cold War wasn't cold for the people we liberated. It was hot with napalm, coups, and occupation. And then came Reagan, the smiling prophet of the new America. Tax cuts, dog whistles, culture wars, and a growing disdain for public institutions. But let's pause and ask, was communism so antithetical to American life that we had to erase it entirely from our soil, even as an idea? During the Red Scare, that answer became yes, not just through debate, but through blacklists, loyalty oaths, book burnings, and public shaming. Even today, the word socialism is used in some circles as if it were a synonym for treason. Never mind that democratic socialism helped shape our allies' healthcare systems, education policies, and worker protections, systems we helped develop in building back Europe. In America, nuance died in the fog of war, and so did the ability to distinguish between critique and subversion, between economic justice and ideological threat. The Cold War didn't just suppress communism, it suppressed imagination. In a nation founded on freedom of thought, the Cold War didn't just extinguish an ideology, it weakened the very concept of economic alternatives, of imagining a society where wealth served the many, not just the few. Yet in reaction to that conformity and control, powerful counter-movements emerged. The civil rights movement, feminism, the gay liberation movement, and more. All of which are once again under attack by reactionary forces, even as the left continues to defend and advance their legacy. We didn't arrive at this moment overnight. The stage was built long ago. The Cold War may have ended, but its architecture of fear endured. The surveillance state expanded. The military-industrial complex metastasized, and then came the wound that defined a generation, 9/11. In a single morning, grief united a fractured nation, only to be weaponized in the days that followed. We invaded Iraq on false premises. We normalized torture, drone assassinations, indefinite detention. Lest we forget 9/11, not only as a day of mourning, but as a fork in the road, where we once again chose vengeance over vision. The seeds sown in the Cold War were now in full bloom, and they bore bitter fruit. America's moral compass spun wildly as the world watched, wondering what freedom really meant when defined by bombs and black sites and missing WMDs. And now, in 2025, it echoes with old songs, Law and Order, Make America Great Again, Blood and Soil. And these slogans are matched by equally cruel rhetoric. It's as if Watson, Franklin, and Crick never found the double helix and proved we all have 99.9% the same DNA, and that we're one race, one species. Authoritarianism is no longer lurking in the shadows. It's on ballots and courts, on news feeds, and fascist nostalgia has found new branding. Not with swastikas, but with flags, emojis, influencers. It's fascism with better branding. Fewer jackboots, more algorithm. It doesn't need jackboots when it has data streams. Surveillance doesn't always come with sirens. Sometimes it comes with sponsored content. But the logic, still the same. Divide the people, control the truth, blame the other. There's a question that haunts many of us. How could Nazi ideas still have life today? The answer is not that people forgot history. The answer is they never really understood it. They learned dates, not consequences. Names, not ideology. They know Hitler was bad, but don't recognize the conditions that made him possible. Despair, humiliation, propaganda, economic fear, and above all, a hunger for identity. When people feel lost, they look for simplicity. Fascism offers it, with uniforms, symbols, enemies. And if we do not meet that hunger with truth, beauty, courage, and community, then we leave a vacuum that evil is all too happy to fill. So what do? We name the danger, with clarity, not hysteria. We protect the institutions with truth, not blind loyalty. We build community, or not just resistance. We teach history, as warning, not nostalgia. And we remember that democracy is not a guarantee. It is a daily decision. And across the world, from classrooms to courtrooms, people are pushing back, with truth, art, law, and memory. We choose it, or we lose it. The Renaissance spirit means more than studying the past. It means standing in the present, with courage, curiosity, and conscience. We are the stewards of memory, and the question is no longer what happened. It's what we're willing to allow to happen again. This is the fight, not left versus right, but truth versus decay, memory versus myth, humanity versus history repeating. So I ask you again, did the Nazis lose the war only to win the peace? And if so, what are we prepared to do to win it back? Because if peace is where the soul of a nation lives, then we'd better start asking, whose peace and at what cost? Thank you for watching. Our channel, The Renaissance Spirit, is dedicated to history, philosophy, politics, personal growth, and the liberal arts. Because understanding the past isn't just about knowledge, it's about choosing a better future. So, subscribe. Turn on notifications. Take the Renaissance Spirit quiz and begin your own initiation. And remember, live the Renaissance Spirit. History has not died, only our understanding of it. The tragedy is not that America tried to win, it's that we sometimes betrayed the very ideals we claim to defend. That's what it means to understand history,